Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lily.
Lady, honored to be here with you guys. Like, just blown away. Before I even introduce myself, you said something about, doing this not just to talk about people becoming, but giving practical tools. And I was like, oh, this is too good. So I am Lilly Mbinglo. I'm a child of God. I think if it's one thing I want to call myself first is I'm a child of God, and then everything just the many things He allows me to do. Some people call me DPA, people call me coach, wholesomeness coach, speaker. But if anybody has to ever remember anything about me, I want you to walk away knowing I'm a child of God who is a walking, breathing testimony of God's goodness and love. Yes.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay. So hi Lily. I'm also a child of God and I'm very
Hi, sister.
Hi, nice to meet you. And I'm also very excited for you to be here. And I'm just going to jump in and start asking you questions because we're here for 60 minutes. And one of the things we've noticed since we got started is it gets a little over 60 minutes because it's just a lot to unpack.
So much goodness.
Just so much goodness and a lot to unpack. So I'm just going to jump into the straight, question. We here at Living Boldly, we believe that everybody is called for something. God has a purpose for your life. You're not just created here to occupy space and that's it. And whatever God has called you to do, is to impact a lot of people. So for you, and I know that you're doing so many amazing things, which you will share. But for you, when you hear the word purpose, what jumps at you when you hear the word purpose?
So the very first thing is always the reason for my existence. It's why I'm here. It's what defines who I am, why I wake up every day, and why God gives me more time here. So purpose to me is the definition of our entire being as individuals and collectively as a group. So it can be expressed in you as a person in the things that you do to serve others. It can be expressed in relationships, like for couples, and it can be expressed in communities, like in churches and organizations too. So that's what I think about when I think of purpose.
Wow. Okay. I mean, one thing you said, I just, when someone is talking and you stop at one particular point,
Yeah.
I think that part where you said is the reason why God gives me more time to be here. So we take it for granted because we sleep, we wake up and just like, but you know what? God has actually allowed you to hang around much longer for something. For something. That's really, I think I'm having a different perspective of when I wake up in the morning. I'm like, okay, I have an extra day to do what you want, Lord. Here I am. Right? Thank you.
So good. So good.
Yes.
Okay. Olusegun, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, so I was just thinking when she was talking about purpose and how it is that we can show that purpose in by yourself, like as an individual, what is it that you're called to do, and then you think about it as if you were married together with maybe your spouse, for example, and then in community, because I think that sometimes we forget that yes, I'm made for a purpose, I'm here for something, but God didn't create us in isolation. There are other people whose lives and whose existence will be connected to yours, and so it's like this whole chain. You don't want to be the weakest link, in the whole chain. You want it to be that when it comes to you, it doesn't stop with you. You are taking that same mission and you are propagating it. You're making it, increase more. So I think my first question to you will be, in what way have you been, like, just maybe share a bit of your journey. In what way have you seen yourself showing purpose in those three different spheres? If you could say that, yeah.
I love that. I think, in order to even be able to express whatever it is your purpose is and to share, you need to know what it is, right? You need to first be able to define it. And it cannot happen outside of He who created you. Because He is the one who made you. He is the one who had the purpose before He brought you into existence to fulfill that purpose. So when you seek Him and He gives you clarity. So coming out to me, the one thing that I was thankfully able to get from me seeking God and asking and wanting to know was He created me to help people get to a place of wholesomeness that's found in love. So which means no matter who I come in contact with, I should never leave you feeling less than or worse than you were before you met me. Any way that I fall short of that, then I'm not living truly in my purpose. And with that, it's not a struggle for me to do that because it is who I am.
Right, right.
Because if I was trying to do what someone else was created to do, it would be a struggle.
Mm.
Come into my presence, the truth is you do get to experience love that comes from him, because he has graced me with that and filled me with it so that I can be that full expression of it. Now,
Mm.
how does that cross into everything else? When I'm even in relationship with people, it could be family, whatever it is. In those relationships, I also get to understand my role. Because I know what I bring to the table, I'm able to bring that on board and also combine with what they bring to the table for the bigger expression of our purpose,
Mm.
impact of our purpose. So just like us having a conversation now, this is us literally coming together with our individual purposes, but we're doing something so impactful. You guys came together and you started doing this show, and now I can come here and I'm this expression of it, but together while making even more impact. And it goes beyond that, and it goes into our communities, our churches, like I was mentioning. So when I go into church, one of the things about purpose is that you don't have to struggle to express it. You don't have to be arrogant about it. You don't have to be in people's faces. It's just who you are. So when you're in a community of people, you're always constantly seeking, how can I add value in here? As a matter of fact, it becomes so second nature. It's like I would go somewhere, so just say, you know what, like you should just be the one people come to talk to, because it's like the moment people see you, they feel safe already around you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Just like when you go somewhere, there's somebody that is so good with managing stuff. You know this person should be in charge of managing.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you, they don't have to. It's not a thing where they have to struggle to put in your face. And so once we understand, like I said, it starts from really knowing what your purpose is, and you cannot know it outside of God.
Mm.
Okay? We can use all kinds of numbers or all kinds of
Mm.
tactics
Mm.
and do this. He is the true source of your purpose, and once you
That's
see,
right.
he will open your eyes and give it all to you, and it's
Right.
him that he will continue to fuel you so that you can serve others with your purpose.
So
Mm.
good. So good. You know, something you said that really, really struck me was when you said, when you know your purpose, you know your identity, you don't need to struggle. And I feel like that's where the problem is with a lot of us. A lot of us are not clear about who we are
Yes.
and what our purpose is. That's why we struggle for positions like, oh, they didn't call me out.
Mm.
Oh, they
Yes.
didn't do this for me. All the offenses that we
Yes.
take and say, oh, they look at me funny. Oh, he said this to me. I
Mm-mm.
feel like if you understood who you were, you will
Yes.
go
You're
into a
good.
room and put your head up and you'll be like, well, I don't care what you think. Like
Yes.
you'll be so much more convinced to move forward. And I love something we said on the show a few days ago, which is that it helps you to live boldly, because
Right.
the moment you are able to get a full picture of who you are, what
Yes.
your purpose is, you're
I
not
love
threatened by anybody or what they're
it.
doing. No competition. You're
No.
not worried what somebody thinks about you, because you're like, you know what, I know I'm here. I don't have to struggle for this position. And
Yes.
it's easier for you to let people do them.
Yes.
You can put people in roles. You don't feel
Yes.
threatened
Yes.
Right.
because
Right.
you know what, this person is good for this role. Why am I
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm
struggling
stand up
when
right
I can
now.
even do this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
yeah, all
That's
of our
so true.
problems will be over
Yes.
if we
Right.
knew
Yes.
Right.
who we are and
Yes.
why we are created on the
Yes.
earth. We'll
That's it.
struggle less.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yes.
so
Yes.
good.
I
Yeah. Ooh. I,
love
I
that.
think I love the part where she mentioned, it's effortless.
Yes.
Because it's who she is. Like, she just walks in the room, you have an encounter with her, you experience that wholeness. She's not forcing it. And I feel that that's where the problem is when you're trying to think, okay, because of all the trainings I've had in my life, this is
Yes.
direction I should go. And then you're just always tired, frustrated,
Yes.
and the people in your inner circle are looking at you like, people see a different you out there from
Yes.
what we see. You
Yes.
go out there, you're this bubbly, helpful person, but you
Yes.
don't want to be helpful. Like you don't want to be there.
Yes.
It's just that effort. And what makes it really effortless is you connecting with God. I
Yes.
think that's just so like
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. It's amazing, honestly, because if you think about the fact that you are just, I was telling my daughter the other day, I said, you know that who we are is not what we see on the outside.
Yes.
Who we are is actually what is on the inside. What that means is this shell will be empty
Yes.
without the breath of life in us.
That's right.
And what that means is that I have no purpose outside of God. I'm just a container. that he
Mm.
feels,
Yeah.
and I just, like express what's already on the inside of me. And what that means is that, I mean, what like Onike was saying, I don't have to be another person here, another person there. And I
No.
was sharing the scripture a few days ago that talks about the fact that we are expected to take the fragrance of Christ and spread it everywhere we go. So the what talk about fragrance, some people like vanilla, or some say I like lilac, or
Yes.
some say it's lavender that's mine.
Yes.
We all have different kinds of fragrance we want to spread out there. So when God feels us,
Yes.
and we're not struggling to, I mean, you're supposed to be bringing lavender, and you're saying, no, I don't want lavender. I want to bring rose.
Yes.
And so that struggle is there. You're
Yes.
always looking like you don't fit into this place because you're struggling to be somebody else.
Yes.
So if only we'll just align ourselves, to who we are,
Yes.
there'll be no struggles.
Right.
I agree.
Wow.
Right.
So
Right.
good.
Okay. So I'm gonna jump in to ask the four-letter word.
Mhm.
It's not love. Fear. It's fear.
Yes.
Fear. So how do you handle fear? Like, okay, it's so easy for us to just come here and talk about, you just know what you're supposed to do. I just go for it. And so some people in the audience are like, yeah, I know what I'm
Yeah.
supposed
Yeah.
to do,
I know.
but and then the last time I did go for it, I know what happened. So how do you, I mean, you've been on a very extraordinary journey. So how have you handled fear? You can give an example, and share like tips on, what anyone can do if they're listening.
Oh my God. I love that. I think fear is really one of the most, debilitating things that happens to us, especially in pursuit of our purpose or the things that God has put in our hearts to do. Um, and fear is an emotion, just like faith, right?
Hmm.
Faith is stronger than that, but it's still an emotion. Like they say, emotion is energy in motion, right?
Yeah.
And fear is another kind of emotion, which is another kind of energy, which
Emotion.
literally causes you to freeze and causes you to worry about the things that could go wrong. So the
Hmm.
way I look at fear every time is that when I think of fear and failure, I just see it as the price I'm paying for the lessons. Kind of like when you go to school, you have to pay, right?
Hmm.
It's like if you have a mentor, for example, when you do things, your mentor will correct you.
Hmm.
For me, I look at it like a mentor, where if I make mistakes, I'm constantly seeking for the lessons from it. And I know it's not easy because a lot of people are like, yeah, that's easily said and done, and that's true. But I think it's until we change how we see fear. Not that
Hmm.
you're rejecting it, not that you're denying its existence, but you're saying, this is just another opinion that I'm about to get about what it is I want to do.
Hmm.
Going to do what I will still fear, but I'll fear forward. Kind of
Right.
like the failing forward, but it's fearing forward because
I love that.
you're gonna fail. It just means you have somehow put in the back of your mind that the outcome of what you're pursuing might not turn out the way you want it to be. Either you're going to be embarrassed, or maybe it may not work out, maybe you might lose money. And so for that reason, it causes you to not want to take those chances. But once you so I'm just doing this is one opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to learn something. This is an opportunity for me to get a different opinion and know if those fears and those worries are right or not, right? And so, like you said, it's about what kind of example can you give? Well, the basic example I tell a lot of people comes from public speaking. If
Hmm.
anything that scares the crap out of people is public speaking.
Wow. Yeah.
But everything in life, you only get better by practicing.
Hmm.
Instead of waiting till you get to the big stage, you just start talking to yourself and talking to your kids. You, as you start doing it, or all of a sudden, even your own self, when you hear your voice, you go, I'm not that bad, right?
I'm
You
rocking this. Yeah.
trust the people whose opinions matter to you and you trust, and then when they start to encourage you, it makes it easier for you to go beyond. I don't tell everybody go and stand on that big stage and face your fear, no, because you're going to go and stand up, your mind will sit down, and then you're going to freeze. Right? So you start right where you are. And we all have different areas of fear. And that's the thing. Everybody's fear is very different. We don't all have one. Love you, Stella. That's my girl, Stella. So, we all have different things that we fear. But whatever it is that is standing in the way of you becoming all that God created you to be, truth is, God will not come down and say, go and do it. He has already told you in his word, fear not, I'm with you. But the action will still be dependent on you. He will never push you. He will never
Right.
let you go. But the way that you are rest assured is that if you take that first step, he will help you along the way. And
Right.
that right where you are with the people around you. You know, if you're scared of doing a video content on social media, you know, do a basic one. Don't show your face. See how people confused. And then you do another one, but you start right where you are and you build up. As you go progressively, you gain more confidence, and that confidence causes you to do even more. So it all depends on what you're where you are. Start right there, bit by bit, and build up. Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
You know what I'm hearing you say is, you know how people want to go from A to 100 where somebody else is,
Yes.
and they don't even have an idea how the person had to crawl
Yes.
for years before they got to the 100. And so when they look at that 100, they get very fearful, like, no, I'm just not going to do this altogether.
Yes.
Not knowing that the time that you're wasting being in that space of I'm not going to do it all together, you'd have used that as your training ground, right? Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fear is a mentor. I'm like, okay.
Okay. I know.
Hashtag that. Fear is a mentor, and it's another opinion. I'm like, okay. It's just an opinion saying you can do this, and I'm like, okay. If it's an opinion, I have a right not to take that opinion and say I'm not going to take this opinion. I'm just going to keep moving forward. I can fear forward. Wow.
I'm just imagining this in my head, like, okay, I'm going through something and fear pops up. So I'm gonna have this conversation, like, okay, fear, let's hear what you've got to say.
Yes.
You know? And when he's done, I'm like, oh, that's a great contribution, but I'm gonna have to say no to that. Oh,
yes. And
I'm a student right now.
Let me share one that helped me. I have one question I asked myself. What's the worst that could happen?
Let's hear what you have to say.
What's the worst that can happen? Let's go through the worst case scenario.
Right.
Wait, okay, I may get embarrassed. All right. People
fall down on stage.
But what if it works out? Right? And so once I face that, what's the worst that could happen? And at the end of the day, I realize I'm not going to die. I'm still alive. Right? So it causes me now to start taking those gradual steps. So every time you feel like fear is taking over, just say, but what's the worst that could happen? Like, what's the worst? I mean, have we not all fallen and gotten laughed at? Have we not all failed some, like, you know? And then you realize, well, those things that seem to want to hold you back from pursuing this major goal, you know, every other person has experienced it and it didn't stop them. So why not?
Right.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
You know, I was thinking about fear, and I was looking at the very close twin sister of fear. You know, or maybe it's a brother. I don't know.
So the best cousin twin sister.
Fear that is doubt. And I was thinking about it because, you know, fear and doubt, they kind of like go hand in hand.
Yes.
So I was thinking about, you know, this thing that we often say where you're doubting yourself.
Oh yeah.
You're like, should I really be the one doing this thing? Am I good enough for this assignment? Why me? Why, you know, like, why not somebody else? Why did God commit this kind of work into my hands?
Yes.
With something like, is there anybody else who's more qualified than I am? And maybe that's the next question we should tackle, which is this doubt and this thought of, will I ever be good enough? Or will I ever be the right person for the assignment or for the job? Yeah, what's been your experience, you know, walking through doubt?
Here, I want us to really get this. That doubt never goes away. It never goes away. Some people call it imposter syndrome, where you feel like I don't belong here, right? And so first, it never goes away. But one of the best ways to deal with doubt is to make up for the gap of the lack of whatever it is you don't have. So which means if you realize I have an assignment on me, I don't feel like I'm qualified, it means there's a gap somewhere. There's one piece of information that you know that you have not met yet to fully go out and represent what it is that you're carrying. And so what you start by doing is to make up for that gap. Are there books you have to read? Are there people you need to listen to? There are people that have gone ahead. You know, you can listen to them. You can try to seek out what it is that they did and then see how it works for you, right? The thing about an assignment that comes from God is that it will always be bigger than you. And he does that on purpose so that we never get too comfortable to think we don't. So that doubt that always stays is the one that relies on trusting God. But the one on our end comes usually from a gap, from the gap of the knowledge that we have not acquired, the experience that we lack, the people that we have not talked to, the books we have not read. And so once you do your part on this end, it's like an expert, right? Like if you bring me on to talk about taxes, there are certain topics in tax that I would not have an issue talking about. But there are some areas where I have not really read into. If you bring me and you start talking about those topics, you know what will happen? The doubt in that moment is coming from my lack of knowledge.
Yes.
It's because I can't even, it's because I have not met that gap.
Yeah.
Now, when I meet that gap, the rest of it now will just be me trusting God to open more doors from this, right? And so with doubt, and I tell everybody, it will never go away. The bigger your assignment, the more the doubt, because it's what if I screw up? What if I screw up, right? So there's that constant doubt of who you're becoming, the greatness that is being entrusted upon you, and all of that is dependent on God. That's why you cannot fulfill purpose outside of God or on your or with your own shoulders. On your end, wherever the doubt is for lack of knowledge, lack of information, that do your part to fill that. And then when you go into the battleground, the rest is up to God. It's no longer.
That's right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And so, because sometimes we hear a lot of motivation, a lot of, you can do this. And somebody will say, yeah.
Yes.
And I don't want to go into all of that. I mean, you just wake up and say, you can do that. You can do what? You haven't even learned how to do anything. You can't do it. You have to learn first. And so that's the balance of you go ahead and shut up the gap that is in your life, as opposed to just saying, I have to just talk myself, affirm myself into being able to do it. You cannot affirm yourself into being able to operate on a patient. You're not a doctor.
No.
Just what I mean. Like there's some things you have to, first of all, deal with in terms of getting skilled up.
Yes.
But that other gap.
Yes.
After you're now skilled up.
Yes.
You still feel doubt.
Yes.
You're going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to have to know that this part of this gap is the one where I rely on God and what he has, his ability. I love it. I love how you just put those two together. And that's beautiful.
If you guys don't mind, I want to share two things. The first one comes, when they talk about the acts, right, in the Bible. Of course, you need to be sharper in order to be effective in what you do, and that's where the learning comes from. But as we were talking, the scripture that came to my mind was the parable of the seeds, where the guy was walking with the seeds, right? You had the ones that fell on the road and the birds ate it. You had the second ones that fell. There was some soil. This is what happened. They actually sprouted, but because they did not have any depth, they died quick. That's the one I want to talk about. That is the gap for those people that you hear a motivational speaker and you just run and you want to start fulfilling your purpose. Yes, there's clarity. This is what God has called you to be, but you must do the deep work. That's why he said when he fell on the fertile ground, he had a seed. It came, there was 100-fold and all of that, right? So that's the difference between someone who knows what it is they're supposed to be doing. They do the work. They get all the information before they get out there and they start speeding out stuff, right? And someone who knows that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, they get excited, they go online and they start to speak to people. Yes, in a short time, they could become famous, but because there's no depth, because they have not spent time studying, they have not spent time forming themselves, acquiring the knowledge, they will die in no time. That was the second category, and that scripture just popped up to my head now because we have a lot of us that we know that this is what God has called us to. God has called you to be a man of God, but you're not spending time reading scriptures. You think you're just going to go out there and preach out of your head? It doesn't work like that. You need to word, but not only reading the Bible, you need to be reading interpretations of the Bible, because God has used other people to speak. And so you have to be able to broaden your mind so that when you go out to teach the word of God, he will be able to minister through you, because you have gone in and gotten all that it is that he should work with. So that scripture popped in my head and I was just thinking about it, and that's what I want.
Wow. As you were speaking, I was thinking about Paul in the Bible. The reason why Paul was able to be used of God that tremendously was because he was a lawyer, for crying out loud. Like, tell me how he's not going to be able to write an epistle. Like, he was already good. I really like to tell people that, the best people in God's hands are the ones who are masters of their own trade. Not you that are just waking up every day. You wake up at 10 a.m. You just, go around the house looking dazed. You never, you never skill up. And God is looking at you like, I want to use you, but man, you are
Yeah.
lazy. You are lazy.
Not giving me anything to work with.
You're lazy.
There's nothing to work with here,
God
right?
wants to use you, but you are lazy. You are
Mm.
not
Yeah.
putting in the work. You know, you are not skilling up. And honestly speaking, I feel like Christians, yes, excuse me,
Yeah.
Christians sometimes are often the ones on that table. Why?
Yeah.
Because we are the ones who feel like, you know, I got God. I
Mm-hmm.
have
I have
God.
his grace.
He's
Mm-hmm.
gonna fill the gap.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
The
Yes.
broader your mind is, the
Yes.
more easily God can use you to reach certain kinds of people. There's some people
Yeah.
you can never be able to
Oh.
reach if
Oh.
you are not skilled up.
Oh
They're
my
not going to
God.
listen to you. Like, they're not going to listen to you because they're like, I don't know. What do
True.
you know?
Yes.
Mm.
There's some
Mm.
people you'll never be able to reach. Some
Right.
levels you'll never be able to get to. Some
Yes.
doors you'll never be able to open. Or
Yes.
even when they're open to you, you can't even walk in the room
You can walk
because
through.
you are not qualified to be in that room in the
No,
first
you're
place.
Right.
Right? So God's looking at you like, I want to use you, but man, you gotta
yes.
do better.
You have to do
Skill
better.
up. Yeah.
Yes. You have to do
Yeah.
better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
We can
Oh,
hear you. Okay.
we can
I don't
hear
know.
you.
We can hear you.
Good.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, I was on mute. I am so
Okay.
sorry. Because there's always a lot of noise sometimes, so I mute. Okay.
Yeah.
So I said I was reading through the comments and I'm just reading, when someone said looking dazed.
I know.
Like it's so interesting how you just like keep going off. Am I
Uh-oh.
back? You can hear
Yeah,
me.
you're back and I can hear you now.
What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Okay. I am going to talk my talk. Okay, my next
Yeah.
question. My next question for you really is, I know that you're on a journey of purpose and what you're doing is amazing. It would be great if you could share about it. And also tell me how you got that conviction, like, okay, this is what I should be doing.
Oh, that's a good one. I think it all really started a few years ago when after I'd gone through my divorce, and God allowed me to go to this church. I remember this church very well. It was a Yoruba church, and they don't even speak English in this church, right? And so I remember just going through this whole cycle. You know, when you grow up and you have all these expectations of how you think your life is supposed to be, and your story now is so different, and you're going, God, what is happening here? And you're coming up with all these things that you think could go south, because it's like, oh, I made some choices, maybe these were not the right choices and all of that. And then I went to this church, and the lady was preaching, they were translating, and she said something. She said, she told us a story. She said there was a man that was in a hospital. So they went to pray for people in the hospital in Nigeria. So they said when they got to this man's room, this guy had been bedridden for almost 4 years, not left his bed, in a small room like this, barely any light. So she went there, she's like, oh my God, she was wondering, like, what can we pray for you? Like, she's thinking this guy will give her a list of all kinds of prayer intentions. And the guy looked at her and said, just help me thank God.
Wow.
She said, wait, this is someone who has not left the hospital bed for almost 4 years.
Wow.
They have to feed him through tubes. They have to clean him. He has to go on himself. They clean him up. And this man is telling me to thank God. She finished the prayer, thank God. As she was going home, she was so convicted. She said, God, look at me. I have my kids. I have my husband. I have a roof under my head. But every day I wake up, I'm complaining from left, right, not do me right. That one did not do me right. That one did not do me right. And she said, she vowed that she would not ask God for anything the rest of that year. And all she did was thank God. And God just blew her mind away. When I tell you that was for me, when I left there, I was so convicted. And it was the day I embraced that whole attitude of gratitude, where I literally started to thank God for every single thing. It was like there was nothing. And then the more I did it, the more I shared with people, I saw people were getting so impacted. I've been talking to a friend who had gone through so much in her personal life, and that changed her perspective. She had been sick. I couldn't work for a while. And then as this was happening, and I started to ask God, I said, but God, what is it you want from me? Right? in all this joy and everything, but I want to understand. And I started to seek more. I was listening to people like Miles Monroe, and I started to hear about the topic of purpose. I said, God, I need clarity. What is this about? I would go, like Miles Monroe would say, if you bought a TV and you don't read the manual, you might only turn the TV and you don't know other things the TV can do. So you have to the manual, because that's how the person who created the TV communicates with you on what needs to be done. I started spending time in scripture. I actually took a course. That's the first time I read the entire Bible in 90 days. I mean, and the more I went in and I just sought God after, and during that time, he was healing me. And he was filling me with so much love. I started to experience what it was like to just be loved on by God. And while I was doing all of that, and he was saying, this is what I want you to give to my children. This is how I want you to go out and represent me. And that was how I started to get clarity on my own purpose. And that's why, like, I finally was able to define it, that I'm here to help people get to a place of wholesomeness that is founded on God's love. Because only his love is perfect. It doesn't happen outside of that. So that was how my journey started, and I got to this place, and every day I wake up so fulfilled. And to me, there's nothing that can steal my joy. When I tell people, it's so hard for me to be angry. Not that I don't get irritated over things, but I'm always seeing the good in every situation, because we're so blessed. Anything could be worse, but we're so blessed. Even the little things that we think are the worst, it's just because we have not looked at the blessing out of it. So that changed my life, and I want to be able to bring that to everyone I come in contact with. I want to be able to share that love with them. I want to show them that they are loved already, because he already loves us. It's just we right, because we get so consumed with the things of the world. And that's why he put me here, so that everyone that I come across realizes that he has already done it all. He really has. You just have to
Wow.
Okay. Wow. Okay. You got me you got me blown away by the story, and convicted by the story too. Because I'm just thinking about my year. I'm like, I could write a list of all my complaining and grumbling, because life is just hard. That's why we say it, like it's part of life. And just hearing you share that, and to think that this was like even one of the most difficult time in your life.
Yes.
And then you have to switch the switch, or flip the switch in this instance, and say, I'm going to be grateful.
Yes.
I think the first thing that will come to your mind is like, grateful for what?
Yeah.
Seriously, God, you have let me down. Like, well, why should I be grateful? And you're justified in not being grateful. So, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
as she was speaking, two things popped out at me while she was speaking. Number one was, she came to a point where she's like, you know what, there's more to my life than this.
Right.
The first thing she did was not to run around, I don't know, trying to find answers everywhere else, but where you should go. Yes. So she went back to God and said, you made me. You know why you made me. Can you reveal yourself to me? And then the second thing she did was to skill up. I mean, she read the Bible in 90 days. Like, I want to know more. I don't just want to just say, okay, because some of us are just going to sit there like, okay, I want to know, I want to talk to God. I'm not saying don't talk to God, but sometimes you just need to take a step further and say, I'm going to deepen my walk with God. Whatever I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and learn it, enroll for a course somewhere, immerse myself in the experience of being able to hear God more clearly, just put myself in spaces where, as they're talking about these things, is resonating with me, because they know better. They've gone ahead of me, and they're able to guide me, to show me the way. And that's so powerful, because a lot of us as believers just say, I'm just going to sit in my room and pray all day. Sometimes you need to go and listen to other people. You need to look at people who've gone ahead of you and say, okay, what can I learn from their journeys? How can I take something from what they're saying and distill it into my everyday, adding value to myself, learning, equipping myself for the assignments that God is calling me to, because that's where the work is. From that point where you now know, this is what God is saying about me, to where I start to manifest these things, because it takes you being whole first before you can lead anybody to wholeness, right? So that journey, that becoming the person who's able to carry this assignment, is where a lot of us are afraid, or sometimes even lazy to go through the work, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. It's a pressing, it's a crushing to bring out the oil. Like, it's a lot of work.
It
is great work. Yeah. So,
wow. Yeah. I love that. And I'm just thinking about this simple question that always comes to my mind, like, how do you manage your 24 hours in your day to
Oh,
make sure that you're staying in purpose?
I love
Because, yeah, that's my question.
that. So, when I became a business owner, one thing I noticed was it was a struggle balancing, right? I have a kid, I have a daughter who goes to school. I have other responsibilities. There's businesses, and then, you manage team members and those kind of things. And at the start, it was a bit much. Sometimes I would wake up with a lot of anxiety. I would wake up my phone and everything, and I realized I was not getting grounded, right? And I'm starting with that because someone will be listening to me thinking I want to talk about 24 hours, but it's how you manage your day is a mindset thing than it is about the amount of time. And I realized I was not getting grounded. Like, I would wake up, and the moment I wake up, I'm already trying to turn off fires, and then the whole day is chaotic. And so I committed to myself and said, I will give God an hour of
Hmm.
my. I committed to it. As a matter of fact, I was struggling with that. And I said, every morning I get coffee before I come to the office. So my coffee time became my Bible reading, my prayer time, and the time I talk to God and get clarity on my day. I don't care who it is. Even if it's the president of this country, you will not get a hold of me between 9 and 10 a.m. It will not happen. During that time, I really get centered. I get into his word. So by the time I'm coming out, he's already given me a word for the day. But not only has he given me a word for a day, I have clarity on the priorities for the day. So now when I start my day, I know the things that have to be taken care of. And then one thing about walking closely with God is you start to realize that when you serve people, you're giving him glory. So there's a different way that you work. And so you don't work feeling burned out. You don't work feeling that you're rushing out of time, but you work in so much joy and gratitude that he's even giving you the ability to do it. So with that in mind, I am able to ensure that important things are handled. I'm able to ensure that I don't take on things on my schedule that I cannot handle. I had to learn to say no as well, right? And that's something that he had to teach me. I'm okay to tell someone, no, I cannot do this. We have to get it scheduled. And that way, I never feel pressured. That way, I never feel like I'm losing my mind. That way, I'm able to also prioritize time with my daughter, and I don't have, it's not like I'm struggling to make time. So for me, it starts with being grounded in him. Once you're grounded in him and you start to clearly define what you want to accomplish for the day, it becomes easier to manage your time. So if we're trying to break it in terms of hours, then, everybody's day is always going to be different. You have different challenges and different things that pop up. But by starting your day with him, being grounded. I mean, I wake up, I work out in the morning, and I love working out, by the way. So when I wake up, I get my workout in. I have time to get ready to head out of the house. But I know when I leave the house by 8:30 and I make it to my coffee place between 9 and 10, nothing can happen. No client is that important. I don't even go with my phone. So you don't have access to me. So by the time I'm coming out, he has already outlined, me and him are in agreement with what has to get done. And I want to make sure that when I go home at night, he can tell me, well done, my daughter. That's the only thing that matters to me. And so throughout my day, with that mindset, I'm able to manage my time better, do the things that are important, and then, take it from there. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
This coffee time.
I know,
I
right?
mean,
Chit
because
chat, we got time.
gosh, it's so good. I love what you said, Lily, because like you said, everybody's day is going to be different. So there's
Yeah.
never going to be any rule that you're going to
Yes.
have to give to people that is going to
Yes.
work for everybody.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, and I mentioned this thing like sometime last week during the Purpose Boot Camp, which by the way is free. So if anybody's listening in and you want to just find out this thing, just go to the link in bio of Living Boldly. You're going to
Yes.
find access to the Purpose Boot Camp there. It's a free 5-day boot camp. We're talking about the fact that how do you know what you spend your time on every day? It has to do with your purpose. It has to do with your priorities
Yes.
and your
Yes.
season. Because I'm the only person that can let you know what those things are
Yes.
is God. He's the one that's going to tell you in this season of your life,
Yes.
prioritize this.
Prioritize that.
Because it's not every time that somebody will say, oh, you know what? As a woman, prioritize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And God is going to be like, in this season, can you prioritize this one?
Yes. Yes.
Can
Yes.
you make this the priority? I need you to start going out and start making connections
Yes.
as
Yes.
opposed to staying home and doing this thing.
Yeah.
But people
Yeah.
are going to be like, she's a mom. Why is she
Yeah.
not prioritizing time right now with her
Mm-hmm.
child? And you're going to be
Oh,
like, well, God is saying
ooh,
right now, go
I
out and meet clients. and, and you're going to make that other time for your child. But you know, the person looking at you is going to say, why is she behaving like this as a mom? Mm-hmm. But you're going to know that you are in the center of God's will, because he's the one that told you, make room for this now.
Yes.
Focus on this now. And nobody can let you know that apart from God. That's so powerful.
I want to add to that. The word here is seasons. It's so important for us to know the seasons that we are in. What you just said, that's the power of seasons. I had a person complain to me the other day. It's like, look, I'm really struggling. I'm sleeping late and all of those things. And I said, look, you're in a season of building a business. You're required to put in the time. Don't look at someone who's been in business 5 years and you're saying their life is... Truth is, what I'm doing now, I couldn't do this a few years ago because I was in the building stage. And so it's so important for us to recognize those seasons and commit it to God. Because honestly, if you always think that I have to do all these things to please everybody, even with the kids, there'll be times when your kids cannot have access to you, unfortunately, because that is what is required to you in that season, for you in that season. Even the gifts, all the things that God has put in your hands, at the end of the day, with or without your kids, he expects you to do those things. He expects you to still fulfill your purpose. So you cannot use your kids as an excuse for a season where you're supposed to be honing your skills to say, oh, I want to spend all day with my kids and love them. No, that's not what's supposed to be happening. So I love that you brought that up about seasons. And then if I forget this, I'll probably kill myself. But no, not kill myself. But what I mean is, one thing I don't want to forget to drop here is for people to write goals down. Please prioritize goal setting. It is so important. Like, in addition to being grounded, something that I make sure to do is to have my goals for the day. Don't play with that. I'm so happy that you brought that up, because sometimes when we start to go and things are happening, a lot of us have not set goals for our short term and long term. And God wants to work with something. You know how he said you write down the vision? Part of your goals is those things you're writing down, so the chariots can run with it, so he can enable you to accomplish them. There are certain things that, yes, you may not have to accomplish in this season, but you can start to sow the seeds in that season. That's why you're always writing down these goals. You know, there are different ways we can do that. Since we don't have time, I won't go into that. But I want to make sure that everyone who's listening to me prioritizes the act of goal setting, either on a daily, on a weekly, monthly, or at least, you know, something that you do even with your family, your spouse, your kids, your friends. Have those goals that affect these different people, so you're always in alignment with each other. You're working towards the things that will first for your purpose, your family, your spiritual growth, your economic or financial growth, or the things you want to accomplish and things like that. So yes, I didn't want to forget to say that.
It's so powerful, so powerful. So we set goals based on our current season and based on the priorities that God is showing you that you need to focus on in the season you're in. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
So good.
So good. And I love how you schedule and respect your chit-chat time with God, you know. And it's just, and I mean, I think about human, like if I come over to your house, you're watching TV, you're washing plates, and I did tell you I was going to show up, and you're doing so many other things, I'll feel a little disrespected, like, Lily, you should have given me
she knew I was coming.
A good time, you know. And that's how it is with us, you know, when we say, God, I'm going to give you this 1 hour every day. And then in that time, you're like, let me just check my email. Let me just send this on Instagram. Let me just do this. Okay. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to put you a little bit on hot seat. And I was just thinking when you're talking, it's like, I need this lady to share with us and even the audience, like a time when you actually felt like you wanted to give up. Like, I'm done.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. So first I have to tell you guys something about me. I operate highly on obedience, complete obedience. Okay, I live in Virginia Beach now, and I came here because I started my doctoral program. And just going back to something you said initially about being skillful, where it was like, if this is what God is calling me to do, coaching and all of that, I need to be skilled at this. I started the program. I visited Virginia Beach, and when I got here, I heard so clearly, he said, I'll bless you in this land. This is me. Nothing. I didn't even know I had an aunt here. I go back, pack my little stuff, my books, take my daughter. We drive from Houston to Virginia Beach. I'm talking about blind faith, complete obedience. I get here and everything just keeps shutting down. I'm talking about when I was coming, I'd interviewed with major companies like ADP and all of that. And all those opportunities, they just kept shutting down. Everything was shutting down. Everything. I'm talking like everything. You know, when you're going through it, everything, things were so bad. I'm trying to
Wow.
business. It was so bad. I
Wow.
had to file bankruptcy. I'm saying this all truth. I had nothing. I had lost everything. I like, you know, when you move on faith and then you hear, and it's like, I remember the
What's
day,
going on?
I remember the day I woke up and came out of my aunt's house and my car had been repossessed. This is me, a mom with a child. And I was just in tears. I went one time to Aldi and I'm trying to get soup, and they had put a freeze on my bank accounts. And I'm sitting there with my daughter, and I said, God, what in the world?
Wow.
Like, one of the few times where I was like, God, this is too much. Like, you made me come out here, you know, but thankfully I had an aunt here, right? But at that moment, I was like, this is too much. You know, you've told me I need to start this business. It was very clear. He gave me the name of the business, the Ark. He was very specific on what I had to do. This is me. I've sacrificed everything, God, everything. I've lost everything. Nothing to my name, nothing. And you know, you have everyone thinking you don't want to work. You're being lazy. You're this, but they don't know that God has shut down all these doors. But it was always in quiet times, and I never stopped spending time in his presence. I never did. It was always in those quiet times where he would remind me. He said, I'm with you. I'm with you. And that was always it. It's I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. And there was nothing that kept me going more than that. I'm with you. He just always reminded me of that. Because when I tell you, there were many times I was like, I'm packing my bags, I'm going back to Houston with my kid, because I can't be here. This is me with a kid and I have nothing to my name. I don't know if you guys have time. Please bear with me because I have to share this testimony. I'm so overwhelmed right now.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
This is me losing every single thing. Everything. I filed for bankruptcy. Like, it was done. Like, there was nothing to my name. I remember I went to the lawyer's office. A classmate of mine, a doctoral student, was the one who connected. I even had to be kicked out of my program because everything was so bad I couldn't even get student loan. So my classmate gave me the lawyer's address. I went there, got it filed, everything. Fast forward, the business has grown. I mean, we have 3 locations. God has been so faithful. We've been looking for a bigger space to move our office. So I went with the realtor the other day and I went to check out one of the offices. We have it's like 4 offices. We go to the office to look at the space, a lot bigger office. And I'm going there and like, I've been here. I just knew, like, I've been in this office before. This time there's nothing inside. I come back. So mind you, our current lease is not even yet up. So they can't let us out of our lease. So my fear was, now we've seen an office, but these people don't want to let me off my lease until December, which is fair, right? The people decided there were 2 other people interested in this office. And the owner said, no, they just want me in the office.
Wow.
They bypassed the other 2 people. I said, okay, but I'm not ready to come.
Wow.
So they decided to start with me December 1st. Mind you, they are going to miss out getting money August, September, October, November.
Wow.
And they're like, no, we want you. It has to be you.
Me. So now I went there, I saw it. I was like, I'm going to push my luck, you know, because I'll be out of here December. Can we even push it to December 15? And the agent is like, you know, these people, they bypass 2 people for you. I don't want you to push it and miss out on this office. Before I knew it, they sent a revised lease and they say, you know what? We'll have you get in December 15.
Wow.
Now, I don't have the lawyer's card anymore. So I go in and I pull my email, and it was the same address, 501 Independence Boulevard, Suite 102. That's the lawyer's office that I was in a few years ago, filing for bankruptcy.
Wow.
God.
Into tears. I said, God.
And God is like, I'm going to bring you back here.
Wow.
A victor. Oh my God.
I said, God, this is the first time I'm actually sharing it. It just happened literally yesterday.
I have gooses. Oh my God.
The whole thing. And I'm so faithful. If anybody is listening to me, God is so faithful. When he says move, just move. My entire move to Virginia was a move of faith. I lost everything. You guys don't understand. You don't know what it's like when you have a kid and you've lost everything. It's different if I'm by myself.
Exactly.
Whatever.
You know?
This is me with a CPA certificate, with all the experience I had. Every company I interviewed with, you know what they used to do? They would just respond and say, well, put the position on hold. And I was the one who was always like, look, I cannot interview with you and you don't hire me. Like, I had the grace, at least for my career life. God showed me that. But when I moved here, every door was shut.
Wow.
Because he wanted me to start this company. Which I've not even gone into how it got started, but eventually with the company getting started, and what I realized is he gave me time to learn. I'm so happy that he withheld the expansion. He withheld all the blessings, because there was so much I had to learn about running a company, where if God had even just given me a bit of the blessing at the very beginning, I would never have learned it. I had to prove. The only thing I had here, I was in the town, nobody knew me. I started a business. You started an accounting firm. Nobody knows you. So the only thing you can go by is excellence and integrity. And then everything was word of mouth referral, word of mouth. And here we are now in 3 different cities. And we're hoping that we
3 different cities.
Thank God.
Wow. Wow.
I think the best part for me is that, and I think we talked about this even over the last couple of days on this call, which is the moment God gives you a vision, it's going to strip you of everything.
Yes.
Because he cannot afford for you to come and say, well, it was my hands that did this.
I did that.
It was my knowledge, it's my connection.
I did that.
It's the money I had in the bank account that I was able to pull this off. And then you're able to tell people, I'm going to start a company. I start calling it 10 steps to greatness. You have no 10 steps to nada. Because you can see that he was God.
It could never be nothing. It was nothing within your power. Things that God.
Wow.
He told me, he said, send everybody you would work with. Because he said, when he told me to name in the ark, he told me, go open the ark of the covenant and tell me everything you see. And I was writing it down, everything Noah did, the accountability, the consistency, and just the fact that God's purpose for mankind was preserved through that. And I'm writing all of those things. And he said, that's what I want you to do. But then he pointed a scripture I never noticed. If you notice, it says in the Bible that the animals were led into the no one never and he says, focus on the work. I will send everybody you would work with. At that, I thought it was a joke. I will do my little marketing. And you know what? He's been faithful.
Wow.
Everyone, that's why I never get overwhelmed if someone comes to me and we don't work. It's okay. I just continue to serve in excellence, in the best of my abilities. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes here and there, but I continue to give my 100%. And I just noticed the people have come to me from sources I would never even have imagined. It's not because they saw any advertising on social media. It just took one person saying my name somewhere. And they said, who is she? I want to work with her. And there it is. He sent them. And he's been faithful to the end. Yes, we have to do our part. We'll do all we can do. We'll do our advertising. We'll do our work. We'll be diligent. But God, at the end of the day, he will take the glory because he will send the clients. And I hope any business person listening to this will be able to trust God in whatever God has put in their hands, that he will send the clients. Put that vision in your hand and let you go hungry. He will send people to work for you to work with. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
If your journey was tough, I hope you're listening. That whatever season you're in now, because some of us are in the season where things are tough, and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. Maybe God didn't even call me. That God called you does not mean that the journey will be easy.
Yes.
Look at the children of Israel. The moment they were supposed to be delivered, the troubles multiplied.
Yes.
So do not think that, maybe God didn't call me. That's the enemy trying to make you distracted and make you let go of the big dream, because you know what, maybe God didn't call you.
Yes.
So you can let go and say, maybe it's not God. And forget about the big dream. And God is saying, wait, I got this.
Yes.
Just give it a bit more time.
Yes.
Ooh, wow, powerful. Thank you for letting your light shine. You're a beautiful person and inspiration. Sounds like my story. Wow. Thank you for sharing too, GT Purcell. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, this has been so powerful.
Yeah. Wow.
Just hearing this, because somebody may think, oh, you know what? All these people that are just coming on this show, they got it all together. What do they know about trouble? What do they know about problems? Do you want me to open my book and tell you about mine?
You don't want to go there.
All of us have had our share of, you know, of trouble, of days when we were like, maybe God didn't call me. Like, I'm packing this all up. I'm going back to you.
I'm making it up in my head.
But you don't know that just right at the bend is the promise.
Yes.
So don't give it all up.
No.
This journey of purpose, you gotta keep pushing.
Absolutely.
You
Wow.
you have to just keep pushing,
Absolutely.
because what you have is so much more important than your troubles today. Imagine if Lily had given it up. Would
Oh
she
my
be here today sharing her story with
God.
us?
Oh,
Will your life be blessed by her story?
yeah.
So you can't afford to give up. You can't afford to say, I'm not doing this anymore. Because
Yeah.
at the end of it is a purpose that is even bigger than you.
Absolutely.
Bigger than
Wow.
you.
And
Bigger
I
than you.
want for us to keep that in mind, because even like, you know, like the company I have now, it's not what I'm actually called to do. It's just part of the building blocks, you see. And so sometimes people can easily get caught up to, even when the blessings come, to think this.
The
It is
dots.
important to keep in mind that, you know, God is a God of process. So yes, where he's taking me is where I will help more of his children get to a place of wholesomeness. But there are other areas too that get affected in their lives. Even through this helping me to build them in those different spaces too.
Wow.
So I think it's important for people to keep in mind that, you know, first, you will go through the struggle at the start. Why? Because there's the gap. You remember we talked about that gap? The
Yeah.
gap, no, you must pay the price for that. You
Scale
must
up.
scale up. You have to scale up. And then second too, the moment the enemy realizes that you know what it is God wants you to do, he gets to work, right? And he's like, no, 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 no. I have
No.
to stop you, either through
Yeah.
problems in your family or just increasing
Just
yourself
drama.
and that kind of thing. But then when you get past that, don't still get comfortable, because God is calling so much more, you know. And that's my encouragement to someone who is listening. You know, even if you've gotten to that place where you feel like, I'm content, I've arrived, please make sure that you're asking God, is this what it is for my purpose? Because we stop until we're done here.
That's right.
So my
It's just the dots. It's not where
It's
yes,
we're
just
going.
don't sit on
It's just
it.
a dot on the journey.
it,
Don't fixate on the dots.
yes,
Don't fixate on the dots. I mean, I'm thinking of Joseph in Pharaoh's palace. Imagine if I said, "Oh, this is where I'm called, and I'm just going to be
exactly.
this person in Pharaoh." God is like, "Oh, no, no, no. That's just a dot in your journey. I took you there to learn a few things, but you're going to have to go back to the backside of the desert
Yes,
to learn more.
to
For the
learn more.
journey, you're going to, oh, wow, so powerful. Wow, Lily, my life is blessed."
I know, and I'm just so grateful that you shared that story. I mean, I didn't have any idea of the story, and to think that you share it here,
Yeah.
and it just kind of give me a different perspective of certain things. Like one, God tells you to do something, you're so excited, you left that, to live a city with a child. That's it. I moved to somewhere where you didn't know anybody. Like, and for people that live in Texas, they know what Texas is like. It's like a huge community. You have your church people, your this people,
Yeah.
it's just there's just something to do. And then
Yeah.
you move to this space and everybody's wondering, where is she going? And you say, and you tell them God said. They're like, okay,
Okay.
we want to see this. And the first month rolled by, they're not seeing nothing. In fact, they're seeing worse, and you're going through all that pain, and you're in that office not knowing that we will be here today,
Yes.
August 2022, talking about that same space being
Thank you.
yours. They are waiting, like they're and God is even showing that they waited for you, and they're still gonna wait for you till when you're ready.
Yeah.
Like my mind is just okay.
Yeah. The same person.
This
Oh, wow.
and they will wait for you, and you have 3 offices in 3 different cities. Like, excuse me, from bankruptcy to that. Indeed, like you heard. And I love how you answered that question, because my question was, have you ever felt like you wanted to give up? But I feel like in that moment, there'll be seasons where you feel like, you know what, I'm done, but I'm not gonna go back when I'm done, and then just have to remind yourself of what God said. Like, I know what I heard.
I know
I
what
know
I
what I
heard.
heard.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. We're saying, look, before you start any journey, be clear, be very clear. And when you're clear and you have it written down, it's so easy to go back and refer to it and say, no. Yeah, this is
I know
how
what
we're
I
supposed
heard.
to do.
Yeah.
Don't just watch somebody and be inspired and say, oh, I like the way this person talks. I want to start talking as well. No, here, get clarity and write it down, and always make it a reference point. Okay, Lily, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You have
Wow.
blessed
I'm blown away.
my week. And the beautiful thing is we started this on Monday, and the story has always been similar. It's connect the dots.
Yes.
God is taking you on a journey.
Yes.
Be clear. Be willing to skill up.
Yes.
And when you find the dots, don't make it a home.
Yes.
Ask what's the next dot, because he's taking you on a journey. It's been the same thing about purpose. The same thing. Get clear, skill up, connect the dots. There's been breadcrumbs. Woo! Thank you so much.
Ah,
Yeah, someone
too
said
good.
clarity and definitiveness of purpose. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Thank you. Wow.
Thank
I
you
don't
so
know if
much.
Olshay has anything
Yeah,
to
and
say,
I just
but
wanted to say something which has been like a recurring theme with what even Lily was sharing today, which is about get clarity, like you just said now, get clarity, skill up, and all of that. Some of us here are on the first step. We don't even have clarity yet.
Yeah.
Get clarity, right?
Yeah.
Some of us are on the part. Oh, I think I kind of know, but I need to know how to go about it.
Yes.
Skill up, whatever you have to do. Some of us
Yeah.
are on the point where now I'm doing stuff, and we now feel like, this thing I'm doing, I don't think this is it. I'm doing it, but it's not it. And I feel like there's a new level to move to. I just
Yeah.
wanted to encourage you because now we've opened up the Purpose Incubator. We're starting off a new class in September of 2022, and it's right there. Go into the bio of Living Boldly. You see the link there. It's momuniversity.com/incubator. Because everything we're talking about here, those 3 steps, is part of what we cover in the program. You don't know yet, come.
Yes.
I know, but I don't know how to get started. Come. I've
Yes.
gotten started, but I feel like there's something missing. Come. Because what we do is not just a course. It's not a course. It's an immersion experience. You come here, you're like, what? It's immersive. You
yeah.
go through this whole process of of uncovering all the layers and coming into this you that God has created, and you're like, wow. So this is the real me. I don't have to hide. I don't have to pretend to anybody. And we walk you through this journey where at the end of that of the 9 months, it's like 3 terms of 90 days, 90 days, 90 days, 9 months, and you're like, it's like you come out with a fresh baby. That God has like, this is who you came out with. This idea, this big dream that God has put in your heart. Now you can run with it with so much more clarity. And so if I were you, I'm gonna go check out the program and I'm gonna just get myself started because that's where the answers are. You can't just sit here and say, well, I don't know. We've heard it all today. Get up. God has a
Yes.
purpose on your life. You have to just get up and do something about it. Don't be lazy. Do the work. That's where the answers are.
That's right. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much, Lily, for sharing your story.
Ah,
And and,
wow.
and there's this part that she did not share, all of that happening, and also you're stepping on TEDx stage 2. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what?
Mm-hmm.
I
I
know.
cannot
Like, what?
wait.
Yes. 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 It's you know
So,
it's surreal. You guys, when I moved here, I went to this event where they did a vision board event, right? And I had a couple of things, and one of them wanted was a TED talk. And of course, the other ones was business and all these other things. And when this happened this year with the TED talk coming up, I literally sat and I was laughing. I said, God, you have a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
It had to take obedience for me to move here. That I know, because the growth that has happened to me as a person could not have happened if I was walking in disobedience. I want to encourage everyone, when you walk in obedience with God, He will really show up. I'm truly excited about that. It's crazy because a lot of people, when they see anything about me, they think of me from the perspective of the CPA, but they don't know that that's only like 10% of what I do. My heart for the wholesomeness of God's children is so much bigger, and I get to watch the TED talk when the time comes, their life will never remain the same.
Amen to that.
They will
Amen
be
to that. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thank you
Wow.
so much,
Thank you
Lily, for
so
just
much.
sharing your
Wow.
journey. Yeah.
Thank you.
yes, and thank you guys for being the pioneers. I'm learning from you guys too. So, so much, man. This has been so awesome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. It's like this testimony was so big in my heart, and it just popped in, and I just got so emotional. That tells you that it had to happen today at this time. I don't know who had to hear it, but thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Wow.
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 Thank you. And thank
Wow.
you for sharing it too.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing
Like,
it too.
seriously, thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on the show. Like, you've blessed me. I'm going to have a very fantastic weekend. I can see it
Exactly.
happening.
Just basking in this.
it,
Basking
it,
in this.
it's
Yes,
just, I think it's just an amazing way to even wrap up the whole interview series. Like, your message, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I respect what you're doing and how you're continuing your journey. Like, it's not easy, especially when you finally arrive. You're like, God, can I just enjoy
Can I
this
take a
right
breather
now?
right now?
Can I just have, make a home here for now? And God's like, nope. But you're like, okay.
yes. Keep
so,
going.
so much respect. Much respect. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm so sorry we went over time. Well, considering the time, that I went in and out and all of that. So I appreciate you, everyone, for sticking around and engaging. Oh, yeah. Wow. Lily, someone said in the comments that I needed to hear it. Thanks for sharing. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. So we're going to be back again next week. And next week also we'll be having guests on the show, just still talking about this whole purpose, the journey and everything. Join us as well on Instagram Live at 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 5 p.m. West African Time. And I think it's 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Did I get it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 12 p.m. Eastern
And
time.
that's all I can do with the time zones.
Yeah.
So just take note of the time zones, and we would love to have you and engage in the comments. Thank you so much. And this video will be up on our page, Living Boldly. If you know somebody, please go ahead and share it with people. You can follow Lily, follow Lucia, follow Living Boldly. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a beautiful weekend.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.